Nighty nighty. Ah, spaghetti. Ah, ravioli. Ah, mamma mia.
Rise, my friend! Whoa!
No, I swear I did this one already. Maybe in my dream. The audio quality was a bit off though. Well, anyway, everybody wants to know how to make a Radial menu work, and I'm here to show you how to do it because Halo Studios once again has dropped us with these awesome new features and didn't tell us at all how to use them. But we figured it out, and I'm going to show you start to finish how to set it up. It can get a bit complicated, so I'm going to section it off so that way you know exactly what to look for and where to look for it, and you can get everything you need the right way. So let's jump right into this thing. There's no map setup because you don't require any objects to be placed on the map in order for the menu to show. It's based on your own triggers that you have, and it could be script only. So for this example, I have my button and I have 3 warthogs I'm going to use. Without anything else, let's jump straight into this script. First thing we need to do is create the menu itself, and to do that we need to grab declare menu variable from the variables advanced category. I'm going to name this M1 for menu 1, and I'm going to create the scope as global. There we go. We don't need to worry about the initial value. The next thing we need to do is an event that will actually show it to the player. In my case, it's going to be events on object interacted, but you can use any event at all as long as you have a way to reference the player. So I'm going to plug my button in here, and I do have a way to reference the player, but it doesn't even have to be on the event as long as you have a way to reference it. The next thing we need is a node called show menu to player, and it is at the very bottom of the UI category, which is where most of the nodes relating to the Radial menu are going to be located. The player who's going to see it is the player who activated my button. That's why you need to reference player, and the visibility is set to true. The last thing we need to do is grab get menu variable from variables advanced, so we have a way to plug this menu in to the menu that's being shown. Make sure the identifier matches your declare menu variable, and so does the scope. The value needs to go straight into the menu input, and now this will be all you need to get the menu to show up to the player. So let's test it. Alright, we have a menu. It's just not functional because it doesn't have any options, so you can't select anything. The X will get you out of there if you press any button. So how do we add items to this menu to be able to select from? It's actually pretty easy. I'm going to move some stuff around. The first thing we actually need to grab is from variables basic, and it's a menu item variable. Let's move that up here. And there are some settings we need to change. Make sure the enabled is set to true, otherwise it'll be grayed out. It'll be visible, just not selectable. The icon doesn't matter, it's up to you. There's so many, I'm just going to pick a random one. And the message just simply describes what your menu item is. You don't have to have a message, it will just show an icon, but assuming you do, I'll show you how to set that up. You can use any of the create UI message nodes and it will work. I'm just going to set up a template real quick. Okay, so what I have set up here, it's just going to say spawn warthog. Message 1 is small text, or big text at the top, and then the subtext will be message, this second layer of message right here. I'll put for both, that way you see what it looks like for both types of text. Now we need to actually add this to our menu, and we need an event for that. And for me, I'm just going to use onGameStart, but you can use any event at all to add these menu items at any time to your menu when the player accesses them. For me, I'm going to use onGameStart. The node we're looking for is in UI, and it's at the very top, and it is add menu item. I'm going to plug it in here, just like that. The menu we're going to be adding these to is menu 1, so we can grab it from our get menu variable. The menu item is going to plug right here, except it can't. For some reason, no idea why, the game has decided you cannot plug these two in, even though the way we do plug it in is identical. Maybe it's an oversight, maybe it's intentional, not sure. That's a Halo Studios thing, not sure, but we're going to have to deal with it for the way it is right now. And to do that, we need to go to Variables Advanced and grab Declare Menu Item Variable. Place it right here. We can name it something. This one's going to be called M1 Opt 1 for Menu 1 Option 1. And we're going to set the scope to global. Now we can plug menu item into the initial value of this menu variable. So now that we have this, we can use get menu item variable Make sure all the information matches our declare node for it. M1 opt1 from menu 1 option 1, and the scope is global. The value can now be plugged into menu items, so I'm not sure why we have to go the long way by connecting this to here and then going from here to here instead of just kind of directly here, but it is what it is. It works like this. The last thing we need to do is go to menu index and change this to a number. All this means it goes from 1 to 8. So this is what number option this item is. So this is option 1 or option 2, option 3, and it goes up to 8. You don't have to have all 8 to make a menu function. It's just it only goes up to 8. But right now, as it stands, we can actually test this out and we can select the menu item. It simply won't do anything because we don't have it wired in, but we can test it out. Okay, so you see the big letters is the first layer of message, while the small letters are the second layer of message. And we have our icon there. We select it, nothing happens because we don't have anything wired in. And that's what we're going to tackle next. So let's get our menu items to actually do something. The event we're looking for is events players on menu items selected. And I'm going to place this over here. The next thing we need is from logic compare, because we're going to grab a compare menus node, place it under our event, plug the menu here into the menu that comes from our event, and the second menu here into our get menu variable, because it's going to ask when this item was selected, did it belong to menu 1? And that means we need a branch, and that's our condition. Was it menu 1? Yes, then something's going to happen. And the thing we are going to have happen is actually one more check. So let's grab another branch and connect the if true. And we need to grab a compare node, just a basic compare node from logic compare. And plug operand A into our menu index. This is our option. Which menu option was it? And we need to compare that to a number. And so that means number 1. Is this option 1 that is being selected from menu 1? If so, then something happens. So this is where your script would begin. So anything you have triggered from selecting that would begin at this point after the if true. For me, I'm just spawning a warthog, so I'm going to grab spawn object, place it here, grab my warthog, bring it in, and it is ready. We can actually test this out and it will finally do something. There we go, we have a warthog. Perfect. Now, let's get to adding multiple menu items. All you need to do to add multiple menu items is basically repeat the process we just did, but for more options. So I'm going to copy the nodes I already have, paste them here. The only thing I need to change is the identifier. So this will be menu 1 option 2. I'm going to change the icon just because I can to make sure that it just looks different. And I'm going to change this to say spawn razorback. Okay, so now that we have that, all we have to do is create another menu item node, add menu item node, and another get menu item variable node. And you just change the identifier to the one that you just created, and then connect everything accordingly. The menu item can come from the value, just like before. The menu we're adding it to is menu 1. And the index this time needs to be set to 2 since it is the second option being added. So now we need to find a way to make sure it knows that it is option 2 selected. So I'm going to move this here and kind of rearrange it for organization's sake here, since we'll be doing this a certain way. There we go. Put it right here. So it's option 1 will give us a warthog, but what if we want option 2? All we need to do is duplicate these two nodes, place them here, connect the compare node the exact same way you did before, set this to 2 since we'll be asking if it is option 2 now. We're going to go off the if false from option 1 because it's going to ask, was it option 1 that was selected? If so, it will spawn a warthog. If it was not option 1 that was selected, it's going to find out if it was option 2 or not. And if it was, we're going to spawn a razorback. And there we go. That is actually pretty simple. That's all you have to do to add multiple menu items. And I'm not going to stop there. We're actually going to go ahead and add the third warthog, the rocket hog. So I'm going to speed through this since it is the exact same process as the second time. Okay, so we added these in. We got to add it to our menu. Menu 1 option 3. It says spawn rocket hog now, has a different icon, and we have it added in up here correctly. And we have it set to menu index 3 since it is the third option. Now all we need to do is the exact same thing we did here. Copy these, plug in operand A into menu index once again. Make sure that the number that's being compared is the option we're actually going for, which is number 3. If it's not option 1, then it's going to check if it's option 2. If it's not option 2, it's now going to check if it's option 3. And if it is option 3, we will get our rocket hog. So let's go ahead and grab our rocket hog, bring it in. And perfect. All 3 of these should work just fine now. Yep. Spawn warthog, spawn razorback, spawn rocket hog. Let's try all 3 of them. We got a warthog. We have the razorback. And we have our rocket hog. So we know now that all of our multiple menu items are functioning correctly because they match the right index. And we can now move on to the sub-menus. Okay, so to create a sub-menu or a menu that pops up after you access an item in a previous menu, you'll need to create another menu for this. So create another declare menu variable. And I'm going to name this one M2 for menu 2. But don't let the number distract you from the fact that it's actually going to be the first menu we access. Menu 1 will now be our submenu. We'll need another one of these, get menu variables. So I'm going to move this up here and then move this directly below it and name this one correctly. So M2 for menu 2. Because when we access this button, we'll actually be seeing M2 first. Perfect. So we need to add an option to this new menu we've created. And since I'm just like this, I want to add the item to the menu we see first in the script. The order doesn't matter, it's just the way I am, I guess. And all we need to do is create another menu item to add to this. So I'm going to duplicate this so we can now add it to our second menu. This one's going to be menu 2 option 1. So menu 2 M2 op 2. I'm going to change the icon just a little bit to that, and then I'm going to leave the text the same. I'm going to disconnect all the small messages though to make it look a little better. Anyway, so now we have this. All we need to do is make sure that this matches menu 2 option 1 when we add it to our menu. And the menu item that we're adding is menu 2 option 1, and we're going to add it to menu 2. The index can be 1 since it'll be the only item in the menu, and this can also be 1 since it's added to a different menu, which is the first item of this other menu. But any subsequent item you add to the same menu needs to have a different index, so that way it's safe. But everything's good so far. So we can still use the same event here on menu item selected. Let's move this out of the way. We're going to move it up here, actually. We're just going to be going on if false. We need to duplicate this one more time. Compare menus. Plug it in the exact same way, except for the second menu, you plug that into M2, or menu 2. Because if it's not menu 1 that the item was selected from, it's going to find out if it was menu 2 that it was selected from. And if it was, we need to make sure that it was index 1. So plug this into menu index here, the same as the other compare nodes. We're setting it up the exact same way as we did for these. Make sure it's set to 1 now because it needs to be the first option of menu 2. And we come off the if true here. So if it's selected from menu 1, something up here will happen. But if it's selected from our other menu, which is menu 2, it'll come down here and find out if it was option 1 that was selected. And if it was, all we need to do now is grab a show menu to player. Plug that into if true. The menu that's going to be shown now is our menu with our warthogs. The player that sees it is the player who activated the menu item on the first menu to see this menu, and the visibility is set to true. And that's all you have to do to create a submenu. So let's go take a look. Okay, so we have our Spawn Warthog category from our second menu, although it is the first one we see. And it puts us in the second menu. We can select all of our stuff. Go back into the category, spawn a Razorback. Go back into the category and spawn a Rocket Hog. And that's how you get, and you can do it for 3 menus if you want. You can do this and then create a third menu and so on, and make sure that you can link it to any one of your menu items to show this menu by using this node, and so on. But I'm only going to show 2 because it's just, that's how you do it, and you can do it for the rest of the amount of menus that you have. The last thing I'm going to show you how to do is a couple of neat tricks, like showing you how to get back into a previous menu from within another menu. So to get back to a previous menu, if you didn't select anything or need to go back, so that way you don't have to find your way back in if you have an intricate menu, the event you're looking for is events players on menu close, because the neat thing about this is it does not count the menu as closing if you select an item. It only counts and only triggers this node and event if you choose the X in the center. So now that we have that, all we need to do is compare the menu and find out what menu is closed. So plug menu in here, and then plug this menu into our menu, our sub menu, and now it's going to find out if the menu that was closed was the sub menu. So plug a branch in here, put that as the condition, and if it is, we simply just show a menu to the player. If true, show menu to the player. The menu that's going to be shown now is our main menu, or our previous menu, which is M2. And then the player who sees it is the player who closed menu 1. And then visibility is set to true. And that's all you have to do to get back to a previous menu in your menu. So let's try it out. Okay, I don't want any of these. I want to go back actually. And there we go. It sends us back to the previous menu. One little bonus I'm going to include is just showing you how to disable a option for the option you've chosen, so that way you can't select it again. So that way if you have one warthog that you want spawned in, you don't want them to spawn another one, then that's what this is for. It will disable the menu item, though it will let you see it, it'll be grayed out. So grab set menu item property enabled from the UI category, plug it in after the event that takes place after you select that specific menu item, and make sure that the menu item is plugged into the corresponding variable that goes with that menu item. And set the enabled to false, and that's all you have to do. I'm going to do this 3 times, and then connect them to each one that they belong to. And there we go. So let's just give this a try to close this out. Perfect. It doesn't let us. But we can select this. Okay, it worked for those 2. And the last one. And now we can't get anything. Let's go back to a previous menu, and then we can just get out of here. Perfect. And you can re-enable them by doing any event in the game, just grabbing this, place it after an event, plug it into the correct and corresponding menu item, and then just have enabled set to true. So let's say one of these warthogs gets destroyed, you use on object destroyed, make sure that's the object that got destroyed, set menu item to true, and then you are good. And that should just about do it. We made it through that in one piece. There are other types of Radial menus you can set up, like specific player unique menus that are only available to that player. And we'll work on that later, but it was a bit too complicated for this video. So we're going to make a whole new video about that later. This is going to come out actually before the multi-team respawn on player script, only because of the urgency of it and how it's new. Everyone wants to know how to use it, and it took priority over the other script. So for now, that's all we've got, and I hope you got your Radial menu set up the way you want, and I'll see you on the next one. If I'm not asleep.